Nate stood alone at the bus stop, not expecting anything, not hoping. Then the bus pulled in, and his brother, gone for 12 years, just stepped off. No apology, no explanation, just a nod. What followed wasn't easy, but it was the start of something that might finally make them whole again. The bus stop was barely more than a sign bolted to a leaning wooden pole, just off Route 6, on the edge of a gas station parking lot that hadn't seen fresh paint in 20 years. Nate Riley, 31, stood with his hands in his jacket pockets, shifting his weight from foot to foot. The air smelled like diesel and stale coffee. Across the lot, a rusted vending machine hummed quietly beneath a flickering light. It was 4:07 p.m. The bus was due at 4:15, if it came at all, if Aaron was on it. If this wasn't just another hollow moment in a long line of ones that didn't mean anything. Nate pulled a folded photo from his back pocket and looked at it again. Two kids, maybe 10 and 14, grinning with their arms around each other in front of a fishing boat, both barefoot, both sunburnt, both holding plastic trophies like they meant the world. He stared at it like it could answer something. Then he put it away. 12 years. That's how long it had been since he last saw Aaron. Their mother's funeral had been the final break. They'd argued in the church parking lot, something about money, something about who had done more or less. But it wasn't really about that. It was about everything else, the anger, the blame, the feeling that they'd both failed the only person who had ever kept them tethered. Aaron had driven away that day and never came back. No calls, no messages. Nate had tried once, maybe twice, then stopped. It was easier that way, clean. Or at least that's what he told himself, until last week. The voicemail was only 7 seconds long. If you're still you, come meet me, 4:15 bus Saturday. No apology, no explanation. Not even a phone number to call back. But Nate saved it, listened again, and now he was here, waiting. The wind picked up, sharp and dry. Nate zipped his jacket and glanced down the empty road. A pickup rumbled past without slowing. He sighed. What was he expecting, really? That his brother would step off the bus and hug him? That they'd laugh, cry, and catch up over diner coffee like the last 12 years hadn't happened? He hated that part of him still hoped for something that simple, because it wasn't. It never had been. 4:14 p.m., the silence felt heavier, and then headlights. Far down the road, a blur of blue and silver came into view, long, slow. The bus. Nate's heart thudded, once, twice, hard. He stood straighter. His hands were clammy now. He shoved them into his pockets. The Greyhound hissed into the lot, engine low, brakes exhaling. It stopped with a soft groan of metal and air. A moment passed. No one moved. Then the door folded open with a tired sigh. First came a woman in a denim jacket, then a man with a duffel and a limp, then no one. Then Aaron. He stepped down slowly, worn jeans, a black beanie pulled low, and a backpack slung over one shoulder. He looked exactly the same, and nothing like before. Nate couldn't speak, couldn't move. Aaron scanned the parking lot once, then his eyes locked on him. He didn't smile, didn't cry. He just nodded. Once. And Nate? He nodded back. It wasn't peace, it wasn't forgiveness. But maybe it was a start. The bus pulled away with a long exhale, its taillights disappearing down Route 6. The parking lot was quiet again. Nate watched Aaron adjust the strap of his backpack. For a second, neither of them said anything. Then Nate cleared his throat. "There's a diner across the street." Aaron looked at him, face unreadable. "Still got that jukebox?" "Yeah." "All right." They walked side by side, not close, not far, like two people trying to remember the rhythm of a language they used to speak. The diner hadn't changed. Same brown booths, same smell of fry oil and burnt coffee, same waitress behind the counter who'd probably worked there since Nate was a teenager. They slid into a booth in the back, near the window. Rain tapped lightly against the glass. A silence stretched between them, thick with memory. Finally, Aaron broke it. "You look different." Nate glanced at him. "So do you." Aaron smirked barely. "I meant older." Nate let out a short breath, almost a laugh. 12 years'll do that." Aaron nodded, then looked down at the menu even though he didn't read it. "Didn't think you'd come. Didn't think you'd call." Aaron's gaze didn't rise. "Yeah. Well?" The waitress came over. They ordered coffee, 2 eggs each, toast. When she walked away, Aaron leaned back in his seat. "I thought about it, reaching out." Nate didn't answer. "I had your number a few times. Even got as far as dialing." Still, Nate said nothing. I didn't know if you'd even want to hear from me." Nate finally looked up. "I didn't." Aaron blinked, caught off guard. "But I'm here," Nate added. "So what does that say?" Aaron leaned forward, fingers tapping the edge of the table. "Maybe it says we both screwed up. Maybe it says we don't want to carry this crap any longer." Nate sat back. "You think it's that simple?" "No," Aaron said. "But I think pretending it didn't matter hasn't worked for either of us." The coffee came. Steam rose between them. For a long time, they just sat there, holding mugs, not drinking. Then Aaron spoke again, quieter this time. "I was angry, back then. After Mom, so was I. I blamed you. You always seemed calm, like you didn't feel it." Nate frowned. "You thought I didn't feel it? You didn't cry at the funeral." Nate's voice tightened. "You stormed out before it ended." Aaron looked away. "Yeah. I held her hand when she died, Aaron." The table went still. "You weren't there." Aaron closed his eyes. "I know." Neither of them touched their food when it came. The silence now wasn't just awkward. It was sacred. A slow, heavy air filled with all the things they'd never let themselves say. Nate stirred his coffee. "Why now?" Aaron shrugged. "I started dreaming about her. Every night." "Me too." They locked eyes. For the first time, something passed between them that felt like the past, loosening its grip. Aaron reached into his backpack and pulled out a worn envelope. He slid it across the table. "She left this, for both of us. I didn't open it." Nate stared at it. "You've had it all this time." Aaron nodded. "I didn't feel like I deserved to read it alone." Nate hesitated, then picked it up. It was addressed in their mother's handwriting. "To my boys." He held it carefully. "We'll read it." Aaron watched him. "Together?" Nate nodded. "Yeah." "Not now, though." "No, not here." Outside, the rain had stopped. Inside, 2 brothers sat in a cracked vinyl booth. Not fixed, not whole, but facing each other, not turning away. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something, and sometimes something is enough to begin. They didn't talk much after the diner. Nate paid the check. Aaron followed him out into the quiet grey of early evening. The rain had stopped, but the pavement still gleamed beneath their feet. They walked back across the parking lot toward Nate's truck, the same beat-up Ford he'd been driving for 6 years. "You live close?" Aaron asked. 10 minutes. Mind if I—" "Yeah," Nate said, unlocking the door. "Come on." The apartment was small, clean but not tidy. Boxes stacked near the bookshelf. A single photo frame on the wall. Their mother in a lawn chair, laughing with her eyes closed. Aaron paused when he saw it. She looked happy there. Nate nodded. It was a good day. The last one, maybe. Aaron didn't ask more. They sat on opposite ends of the couch, and Nate handed him the envelope again. "You sure about this?" Aaron asked. "She wrote it for both of us. But I don't know if I deserve it." "Neither do I." Aaron ran his thumb along the flap, then tore it gently. Inside, a single page, folded once. Nate leaned in as Aaron opened it, and together they began to read. "My boys, If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. And I hate that I can't say these things to your faces, but I know you. You're stubborn. You're proud. And sometimes you forget how much you love each other. So I'm writing this because I need you to remember. You two were best friends once. Remember the lake, the summers, how you never left each other's side. Somewhere along the line, pain got louder than love. But I don't believe that's permanent. I don't care what you fought about. I don't care who left first, who didn't call, who said what. I care that you're still here, and I care that you don't waste the rest of your lives pretending the other doesn't matter. Aaron, you are not the sum of your mistakes. Nate, you don't always have to be the strong one. You are brothers. That's forever. Start again, even if it's messy. Love always, Mom. They sat in silence for a long time after finishing. Aaron wiped at his eyes with the back of his hand. She always knew more than we gave her credit for. Nate swallowed. Yeah. Do you think we can start again? Nate didn't answer right away. He stood, walked to the kitchen, poured 2 glasses of water and came back. He handed one to Aaron. I don't know what it looks like. I don't even know where to start. Aaron nodded. Then let's just sit here for now. Nate sat beside him. Yeah, that works. The letter rested on the coffee table, open. Not a conclusion, not a solution, but a beginning. Between them, a silence no longer sharp, just quiet, like the air right before spring. And for the first time in years, the 2 brothers were still in the same room, not out of guilt, not out of obligation, but because deep down, neither wanted to leave. It had been 5 days since Aaron stepped off the bus. He was still sleeping on Nate's pull-out couch, the kind with springs that made your back ache by morning. Nate had offered the bed, but Aaron refused. They'd started talking more, little things at first. What jobs they'd worked, what music they'd gotten into, the foods they hated now. Then heavier things, like where Aaron had been when their mother died. Why Nate never tried harder to find him. What each of them had carried in silence all those years. It wasn't always easy. Sometimes they talked too late. Sometimes they said too much. Sometimes they didn't say enough, but they kept showing up, day after day, at the same table, in the same room. That was new. On the 6th day, Nate made breakfast. Scrambled eggs, black coffee, toast a little too burnt. Aaron sat down in the same seat their mother used to take whenever she visited. He looked at the plate, then at Nate. You cook now? Barely. Mom would have been proud. Nate smiled, then sat across from him. She would have yelled about the toast. They both laughed softly. It felt strange, good, real. Aaron took a breath. I can't stay here forever. I know, but I want to keep this. Us. I don't want to disappear again. Nate looked at him for a long moment. Then don't. You really mean that? I wouldn't have waited if I didn't. Aaron nodded slowly. I've got some savings. I could find something nearby, start over. You'd stay in town. If that's okay. Nate leaned back in his chair, looking out the window at the quiet street. Sunlight caught on the windshield of his old truck. It's more than okay. After breakfast, they packed a small box of their mother's things. The ones Nate hadn't touched in years. Letters, trinkets, a recipe book with coffee stains on every other page. Aaron held one up. Her handwriting always looked like a doctor's. Except when she was mad, Nate added. They smiled. Then Aaron said, we should have dinner Sunday. The way she used to. Nate raised an eyebrow. You cook? I follow instructions. Dangerous. We'll survive. Sunday came. They cooked together, burned half of it, ate all of it anyway. The table wasn't full. There were still shadows, still silence, still things left unsaid, but there were 2 plates, 2 chairs, 2 brothers, sitting down together again. It wasn't a perfect reunion. It wasn't meant to be, but it was honest. It was steady, and it was enough to begin again. Not because the past was gone, but because, for the first time, they weren't letting it decide the future. Sometimes it's not about fixing what broke, it's about showing up, even if you're late. If this story moved you, leave a comment, share it with someone you've been meaning to call, and subscribe for more true feeling stories that stay with you.